Bill Maher is the host of the cocktail party-style talk show Politically Incorrect. It is a fast and loose and completely irreverent forum where unlikely combatants meet on the issues. Maher's half hour is admired for its guts and smarts and is a return to the talk show concept of Jack Paar and Jack Benny. Politically Incorrect will observe and no doubt satirize the 1996 elections from its weeknight slot on Comedy Central before moving on to ABC in 1997. And we are pleased to have him here. Welcome.
Thanks, Charlie.
It's hard to say. Well, it's great to have you. I have the notion of doing what you did, which is to bring satire and political satire to television, deserves, for those of us who are political junkies, our appreciation.
Well, thank you. I thought before the show was on that there was a void out there in a lot of ways for a talk show that lets people who weren't policy wonks, weren't the regular McLaughlin, David Brinkley crowd, who do a great job in their own way, but they are inside the beltway types. But I thought, you know, around the country, there's all sorts of people talking about what's going on. You know, we don't have to be experts. And very often on our show, we have the pundits, we have the experts, and then very often the really insightful thing will be said by a sitcom actor.
But you know what's interesting, though, and not to flatter you too much, but it is...
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. All right, here it is. You can take the same combatants, the same guest, the same people, and have someone else doing the show, and it's not the same. And people find that out because I'm sure people have tried to copy what you've done, and it ain't the same. They'll say, what's missing here? Well, Bill Maher's missing here.
Thanks. I do have a formula for the show, my special sauce, I call it, that I don't want to get out. But yes, there have
dust that you put on.
There have been some rip-off attempts. There was one really right on the nose one about a season ago called Last Call. Brandon Tartikoff's show, and you don't even maybe remember.
Of course I know. Okay. I knew the people who were there. I mean, Elvis Mitchell and others.
Yeah, and you know, what can I say? I used to watch it and go, fail.
Yeah, it's
fail.
Don't make it.
You know, you can't. It's not fair. If this was good, it wouldn't be fair. So luckily, it wasn't.
Yeah. Well, right. When you weren't there, tell me what you saw and what you wanted to do. Well, let's even go back more. You went out. You were in Hollywood, and you were doing a sitcom, weren't you? And are you for 13 episodes or maybe less? I
had done a bunch of sitcoms. Yeah. I mean, I made my living doing acting in sitcoms, and I never was in a good movie, but I did plenty of them. Yeah. But for like 10 years out there, that was what paid the bills. And a sitcom was fun. Like my first one was in 1985. Yeah. I was 27 or something. It was just a ball to be on a sitcom. And by the time I did the last one, like 6 or 7 years later, I had just changed, you know, and it wasn't fun anymore to be the office creep.
Yeah.
You know.
Was there a similarity into the roles that they had you plugged into?
Well, I mean, sitcoms are all similar. I mean, it's all, you know, wisecracks with blow-dried hair.
Yeah.
That's my take. And I know there are some that do some wonderful stuff. And, you know, that's nice if you can get on one of those. But the odds are you're going to be on Bringing Up Chunky.
Yeah.
And you're going to be the office creep or the crazy neighbor or something. And
in between, you would always go back to stand-up or improv.
Still do. Yeah. Absolutely.
You still do?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I love stand-up more than ever now. A lot of what I did for the first 15 years of stand-up, I really feel was prologue to the way I do it now, because I think it was Bob Hope who said there's 3 elements to comedy. There's timing, which you're born with or not. Right. There's material, which you gather over time. And there's recognition, which comes only after some success. But when you have that third element, recognition, when they know you before you go up there to perform for them, it's just a whole new ballgame. They know what to expect. They're there because they like it. I mean, when I used to be a comic on the road, even if you were a headliner, you'd play at the weekly comedy club, and maybe last week there was a guy who smashed pumpkins. Yeah. And so they came back expecting that, and there am I. I'm not going to smash anything tonight.
And they come wanting you to succeed, whereas rather than coming saying, prove to me you deserve to be there.
That is exactly right. That's right.
But there was a great line once in which I read this story somewhere where you left the stage, or somebody else left the stage, and you were about to go on at the Improv, and whoever he was, and turned to you and said, is this what it's all about, or something to that effect?
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yes, I do remember that. That was during those, really the worst part of my career was right before the show started, because I said I was done with sitcoms. I didn't want to do that, and I was like, what am I going to do? And I was going on at the Improv. It was a Saturday night, which is the biggest night in the business, and here I was just working at the Improv for $28 or whatever, and he was coming off the stage, and he said, is this it for us, Bill?
Is it going to be the Improv forever?
Yeah.
Every Saturday night? This is as high as we're going to go.
But see, I think that's what forces you to come up with the concept. It's like that little grain of sand in the oyster that makes it produce the pearl.
All right. So tell me how you came up with the concept. I was building to that.
Well, part of it was frustration with the other shows, the other talk shows, where I was a guest quite often. And sometimes they would have other guests in the green room who I thought were interesting, and I would like to talk to them on the show. But of course, in those shows,
one after the other.
One after the other.
Very honest.
And I thought there got to be a place where everybody could talk at the same time. Yeah. Because that's what I like to do at home. You know, I like to have
That's what a great dinner party's about.
Yeah, have
Everybody
friends
talks.
over and everybody.
That's what's missing from this show. I mean, I would like to do that more too. I mean, it is the notion.
Well, let's get those other people back.
Come on back.
Let's get Anthony Hopkins
and
back.
Emmanuel Axe, hey? That would be a group right there.
Yeah, you had it right
We
here.
had him. Why did we do it? You know who used to do it?
Because I'm doing
it. So you sat there and said, why can't we get all these people together?
Yeah, which is not to say it's better. I mean, what you do is fabulous. I mean, this kind of interview that you do and Bob Costas. Those are the only two that I really enjoyed one-on-one. I mean, there's that Barbara Walters interview, which we all watch, and I think she does a great job, but that's a different kind of interview, a celebrity interview. But when you and what Bob used to do, there's nothing that could ever replace that. That's an interview, and you do it really good. The thing about our show is it's not an interview.
Right.
Those people are not going to be asked about their lives or what they're publicizing. It's not a publicity. We'll hold up something when we bring them out, but that's it.
Right.
They're not there to plug a movie. They're there to render opinions on whatever subject I'm saying. So, you know, to people in the business who only like to talk about themselves, it's not good. Yeah. But for others, it's a wonderful release to be able to, you know, talk about things that are not about you all the time.
And for people who could only talk about themselves and have no opinions, they don't belong on your show.
No, and I've had plenty of people, stars, come up to me and say, you know, gee, I watch your show all the time. And I go, thanks, would you like to do it? They go, no. I have nothing to say. That's what John Goodman said to me. He said, nope, I have nothing to say. Okay, John?
Did you say once that Seinfeld has never had a political thought in his life?
I said that the other day because after the Don Imus flap, they called me because I had done that dinner the year before and also gotten into some trouble. And they said, you know, do you think there's a problem in how they book it? And I said, yes, of course. What do they expect? They book Don Imus and Mr. Politically Incorrect, and then they're mad when the material is a little off color. Yeah. There's so many other ways they could go. Book Jerry. He's never said anything political. Book a juggler.
Yeah, that's what you said, yeah. If they get Jerry, you got no problem.
Yeah.
You know, and he'll make you laugh. Oh. It'll be great material.
Oh, the best.
Imus, what'd you think of that whole controversy, other than what you just said, the point you just made? You want Imus, you get Imus, and that's what you should expect.
Yes, I just don't like now that I'm lumped in with Imus because I thought he took it a step further than I did. He made fun of the president's marital situation.
Not to speak of Peter Jennings.
Yeah, but I think Peter Jennings is divorced now, isn't he?
Yes.
Okay. I think there's a real difference.
I hope so, because his wife is remarried.
Right. Okay. But I think there's a real difference when you're speaking in front of a married couple. It's just a politeness thing. I mean, even forget about the president, forget that you're on television. Here's a married couple that had an admitted difficulty in their past. Right. A more painful thing you can't bring up in front of a married couple. I mean, I wouldn't do that in my home
I wouldn't,
to people. So I thought that was completely out of line. I think there is a line. I think he went over it. And I didn't. So when People magazine said this week in the article that last year I did a obscenity-laced monologue, not true. I certainly did not.
What was the thing that got you in trouble then?
I said one bad word.
And was it a four-letter word?
Yes, it is.
All right. Okay. Well, let's move on then. Well, we can bleep it out anyway.
Yeah.
It's right. You sat there, you put together this idea for the show, and you went to Comedy Central and said, have I got, you know, you're lucky to have me because I've got a great idea. You're looking for a great idea. I've got a great idea. And not only is it a great idea, I bring with it the host and the talent.
Pretty much, yeah. That's what you have to do.
Thank you very much, Maher, but we get this every day.
Right. Well, of course, you have to be so sold on it that you can sell others. That's the first thing.
Yeah.
And, of course, they were a little skeptical at first, and they wavered, but the thing about a network like Comedy Central that's so wonderful is that they, being not the top dog, have to be innovative.
Right.
They have to look for something different. And that's true with any network that's in last place. Whoever's in last place is going to do some interesting television.
Right.
NBC did it when they were in last in the early 80s, and they brought on Hill Street Blues and Cheers, and all those shows languished in the ratings. St. Elsewhere before they caught on. But
and also
why,
they caught Cosby.
But you know why they left them on? Because they had nothing else.
Yeah.
And that's a great thing in television when you're with somebody who has nothing better, and they might as well take a chance. Fox did it, Simpsons, and all that.
I mean, that's really the indictment of television. Nobody gets a chance to develop. You know?
Right.
I mean, you have to be public television. Same thing with this program.
Yeah.
An opportunity to find itself. You know, so and find an audience and have people, you know, get to know all those things that you talked about. Before we go any further, I just want to, well, no, I do want to do this. So you set up the idea, they bought it on Comedy Central, put it on at 11 o'clock, one rerun a week, right? It's always been that?
Yes.
Right.
Now, the first season was, we taped them all in advance. It was not really what the show is, but it was getting to where we are. But most of our life, we've been on, yes, 4 new shows a week, Mondays a repeat.
And how is it different today than it was when you started?
Well, we're in L.A. now.
Yeah, I know. Okay.
So we were in New York for most of our life, and that was traumatic because so many people were, frankly, hoping that it would fail out there. Because...
Who would hope it would fail?
Oh, all the chauvinistic New York types who are skeptical, and you don't understand the prejudice there is against California. I find it literally insulting. People still say, you know, oh, why do you want to be in California? Everybody's so stupid there. It's like... they have this anachronistic view of California like they're all surfer dudes. I mean, please. On top of which, if you're doing an edgy show, that's the city that's edgy now. I mean, since the riots and Rodney King and the O.J. Simpson case and the fires and the earthquakes, if you think L.A. is laid back, you are living in the era of Starsky and Hutch. L.A. is not laid back. L.A. is a city that's on edge. And so it's a perfect place to do a political show. And many of the political issues that are at the forefront, like immigration, are the number one issues out there. And it's obviously the most important state. Clinton spends about half his life in California because it's the one state none of them can afford to lose. If you lose California...
well, he's way ahead, too. There's some talk that Doe may not campaign a whole lot out there. Because
hey, he's afraid of Ralph Nader in California.
Clinton is. Yeah. I'm sure. It's 6 or 7 points.
You can't fool around with California. Got to win it.
Yeah, Pete Wilson found that out too.
Yeah.
When he ran for president, his polls numbers just dropped. Let me take a look at this. This is highlights from Politically Incorrect, seen on Comedy Central, and the good news is that it will be there through the political season, through the election, and then in 1997. Bill has abandoned Comedy Central and gone over to ABC after they made him and they gave him an opportunity, 3 years of run, and he's out of there. Here it is. Take a look.
You know what? If you're bringing up your kids in the Aryan nation, you are causing danger because you're spawning hate in America.
So now you're going to have...
In my neighborhood, if a guy put swastikas on his kids, I would be a little suspicious.
Yeah.
I would say, come on over, we'll have some fruit.
Have you ever experienced fear of a person of another race?
Not because they were of that race.
Oh, please.
If I am walking...
Have you ever met Little Richard?
When men get older, they start to look like Sean Connery, but when women get older, they start to look like Sean Connery.
We are all pretending like men don't go after the most attractive woman in the room. Margaret Thatcher today, I think, is probably the most brilliant woman alive. Do you want to screw Margaret Thatcher? Yes or no?
Well, it's been a while since I've been with an older white woman.
Is it stupid to tell the truth? Do you have to lie to get elected?
You want me to tell you the real truth? Would you advise Gary Hart to stand up and say, I'm running for president, this, that, and that? By the way, there's one more thing you should know about my activity.
That's great! Absolutely great!
Look at this panel. The only person here who has not been convicted or under indictment is gay. And I think that's good.
Gordon Liddy stars on your show.
We have strange bedfellows, to say the least. That show where you saw Marion Barry, who apparently was dressed as a Star Trek villain.
No, he was.
And Gordon Liddy, they bonded.
Oh, they did.
But you know why? Because they had been in the same prison. And they were comparing...
Not at the same time.
Not at the same time, but it was like, oh, you know this guard, and, you know, remember Thursdays they'd have macaroni, and they actually had something in common.
And there probably were some guys that were still, obviously, some guys still there, so they might have known some of the same people.
Probably the congressman who was also indicted.
Marion Barry's also bonded with Newt Gingrich.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
I never know anymore who's with who anymore. You know, Pat Buchanan and Jerry Brown are on the same side with trade and
NAFTA. I don't know what they're, but
you know,
NAFTA,
it's like, I don't know whether my positions even are liberal or conservative anymore. Everybody's switching.
Are you a political junkie? I mean, is this stuff that you are? No, you don't care that much about it. It is just.
Oh, I do, but I don't. A political junkie is someone I think of who reads 3 papers a day and watches CNN and C-SPAN.
That's Don Imus, actually.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, he really does look like
I've never watched C-SPAN. I wouldn't know where to find it if I had to find it. CNN, occasionally, yes, but I watch the nightly news if I'm around at 6 o'clock, and I read the New York Times. That's my thing every day, and I read a lot of magazines, or at least I look through them. But I don't want to be too much more informed than my audience. Because, you know,
sounding like Larry King here.
A lot of people come up to me and say...
Why prepare if you don't have to?
Yeah, well, prepare, but, I mean, you know, a lot of people come up and say, you know, I get my news from your show. And
oh, this country's in deep trouble.
Exactly. It's like reading the Monarch notes, you know, without reading the book.
Yes.
But the truth is, I mean, people are not that mostly politically astute. So, you know, I like...
In other words, you can do a funny program without being smart.
I don't want anybody watching the show to feel like they didn't prepare enough to appreciate the show.
Right, right. Bill Maher on Politically Incorrect on Comedy Central from now through the end of the election, or through
Election Day is our last show on Comedy Central.
And then start over new ABC after Nightline in the beginning of '97.
Right.
Thank you again.
My pleasure.
We'll be right back. Stay with us.